Hi, I'm Bina Patel, a physician associate turned spiritual mentor, quantum healer, women's coach, and speaker. Welcome to The Voice That Sees. This podcast is an intimate dialogue on topics ranging from science and spirituality to alternative forms of healing, vulnerable storytelling, the esoteric ancient wisdom, the power of individual transformation, and how it impacts the collective evolution of humanity. Each episode, you will learn how to evolve by shifting your mindset and ways of being, express your vulnerability to heal and transform, and channel your emotions into self-expression, creating a greater impact in the world. Let's continue your journey together. Welcome to the Voice That Sees podcast. I'm your host, Bina Patel, and I'm really excited to share more about my journey and what this podcast means to me. First, I'd like to start out by saying thank you for tuning in to listen. And second, I wanted to dive right in and share more about who I am and why I created this podcast, essentially what it means to me. Throughout my life, I've undergone a lot of transformative life experiences, and many of these experiences awakened me to how there is something way beyond what we perceive as our 3D reality. And all of these experiences really helped me to understand that when we can perceive the deeper meaning, the deeper truths of life, and things that are underneath the surface waiting to be birthed, and really allow for those different layers to be uncovered, there's more to this life than simply honoring the day-to-day. There's our humanity, our divinity, and all the nuances and layers that come in between those moments. And in our unfolding, in our deeper understanding of the different layers that come to surface, these truths, the wisdom that is extracted from these different situations, we actually find deeper purpose in our lives and see that there's so much more than meets the eye. And so after having gone through over what I can only describe as 15 years of some really life-changing experiences, I felt the call to use my voice to give life to these experiences by speaking to the wisdom and the knowledge and sharing it from a place of higher perspectives and unique forms of understanding, really being able to put pieces together in a way that empowers me and my world to move forward in our lives from a place of confidence, from a place of deeper trust and faith in a higher power, and also to honor our own humanity along the way. Because evidently, we signed up to have a really human experience. And the more I am present to my own humanity, I am finding that I can be more compassionate towards other people's humanity. And a lot of social issues and things that are happening on a collective, global level. And so the reason I titled this podcast, The Voice That Sees, is because my name, Bina, in Sanskrit means farsightedness, musical instrument, and also wisdom. And I'm also learning from other people in my life that in different languages, including Hebrew, it also means wisdom and understanding and discernment. And now where I am at currently in my life with having transitioned a little bit out of the typical clinical healthcare settings where I was working as a physician associate for several years, and now transitioning into more holistic health coaching and holistic healing and understanding people on this deeper level, this more holistic perspective, I'm finding that my name actually holds more significance than I previously gave credit for. And so I find that what God has gifted me with this ability to see beyond the scene and really understand those more intricate layers of things that are happening underneath the surface, and then bringing them to the surface, to the light, for healing, for transmutation, and ultimately for positive transformation that can actually help humanity move forward in a very empowering way. And I truly feel that this is the work of a lifetime and beyond. It is a calling that God instilled in me by first walking through my own path and going through some really life-changing experiences so that I can then turn around and help other people move forward in their lives too. And do it in a way that helps people understand that your unique essence, your unique blueprint, and your stories actually carries a lot of significance. And that when you can understand the wisdom in each experience, you can then share it with other people. And those perspectives that come from a place of embodiment, meaning you have moved through them, you have lived through them, you've healed, you've transformed, and now you're out on the other side and you feel whole again. When you move from that place and you share your story, people can feel instantly healed just by your embodiment because it's part of your aura. So it's no longer about having to teach people the principles. You live your principles, you embody them. And through that beautiful art of embodiment, people naturally feel something about you, that they believe that you can help them to unlock something within them. And I believe that something is infinite potential, infinite possibilities to ultimately rise into the fullness of our potential, both individually as well as collectively. And to me, I believe that this is why we are here, to continue to expand, to understand the ancient wisdom that has already been available to us for centuries from the origins of this earth when it came to be. And that even through doing all of this beautiful inner work and being on the path of personal growth and development, there's also space to surrender to a higher power and have faith that God, source, spirit, whatever you believe in, has our back. For me, it's God. And so I'll be speaking to God a lot on this podcast. And also understanding holistic health is not just mind, body, and spirit. I believe it goes even deeper. And I believe that this conversation will continue to evolve over time, many times on this podcast. Because as I'm finding it now, today, it also goes into our spiritual health and well-being, our boundaries, our use of technology, our intuition, our communication style, our relationships, our community, our purpose. It's so much more than making a few dietary changes or exercise routine changes. It's something that transcends what we have known before. And I am really excited to open up this conversation from very unique perspectives that I've gained over time because it's definitely helped me feel more whole and radiant in my own body, as well as my mind, my heart, my spirit, my energy. And I really want to spread this wisdom far and wide so that more people can understand that we all carry a unique blueprint. And once we activate this within, and take the time to understand ourselves with deeper self-awareness, as well as holding space for self-love on what can sometimes be a messy yet beautiful and divinely perfect journey, is that we are all here to evolve, and we're all going to evolve in our own unique ways. And that's beautiful because it shows that our individual transformation impacts the collective, and collectively we also impact each individual. So it's a dance. And I'm just really, really excited. I feel really honored to be sharing from this space. And I'm really excited to have some amazing guests on this podcast, including many people who have really incredible stories about challenges they have overcome in their lives, transcending what may have been the typically approved life, the status quo, and forging a path of their own. I believe there's so much that will be shared on this podcast that comes from a more vulnerable place to really create that intimacy and to really help people understand that when we start to become more comfortable sharing these more intimate aspects of ourselves and can hold space for our own emotions, as well as giving other people the permission to hold space for their own emotions, we will start to see a world and create a world where more conscious conversations lead to deep healing and transformation. And so a little bit about who I am and why I was called to do this profound work is I had cancer when I was 21. And during that time, I was actually in graduate school to become a physician assistant, which is now titled physician associate. You might hear those terms interchangeably over time. And so while I was in this program, I was a gunner. I was super ambitious. I really wanted to graduate and be out, go to New York, and find my dream job. And as life would have it, I was diagnosed, and it really changed my view on life. The first thing it brought up was a lot of fear, a lot of anger, trying to piece together why did this happen to me, playing into that victim mentality, which was part of the journey, and I honor it. And also the stress of what does this mean for me during my time as a graduate student? Will this delay my graduation? How is it going to impact my time to study, my energy levels and such? And I had multiple conversations with different members of the faculty, and the majority told me the same thing. It would probably be wise to take the year off and come back to the program when I felt renewed and healthy again. But I was a gunner, and I had dreams and I had a timeline. And so that was not an appropriate response for me. And as life would have it, there were some lessons to learn along the way. And I don't believe that these lessons were a form of punishment, but rather a part of my journey to help me understand that we can find multiple perspectives in every single situation, and all of them are available to us. And some can keep us in certain patterns that we no longer want to be in. And then there are other perspectives that call us to rise to something greater. And so this is what I will be sharing more of in each episode. And so during this experience, I saw the different way I was speaking to clinicians and which people I felt I was not speaking my full truth with, or afraid to speak to some of my concerns and ask questions. Whereas with other people, I felt really aggressive and I was really giving them a piece of my mind. And I could see from an intuitive standpoint that the thyroid cancer might be related to something deeper. And sure enough, I ended up having this rotation with a preceptor at the time who was undergoing malpractice of her own and also dealing with the loss of her mother due to cancer. And so she was really stressed. And when you can't speak up for yourself and when you're used to being really empathic and just being there for other people, you often can be stepped on until you learn to have healthy boundaries. And so I noticed that this preceptor would take out a lot of her stress on me, and I wouldn't say anything. I was so afraid of the power dynamics in this relationship, thinking she's my preceptor, she's going to evaluate me at the end of this rotation. So I have to be on my best behavior and just do whatever she says. And so for the next month or 2 months, I'm literally there showing up with anxiety every single morning because I don't know how the day is going to unfold, and I don't know which way this woman's mood is going to go. And it happened pretty much every day where she would take out her anger on me. There was also a little bit of physical abuse, a little bit of pushing. And when she felt some type of sorrow, she would come take me into a room. She would be like, hey, let's have a conversation. She would apologize, but then the behaviors would repeat. And I know this story is not unique to me. I know many people have had stories that entailed some form of abuse or something that was unhealthy. And this rotation impacted the way my school saw me, because the way she had described me and evaluated me was she told the school that I didn't have what it takes to become a physician assistant. So she would do whatever it takes to have me not graduate. And sure enough, this led to a series of faculty members coming to see me in different rotations to see how I showed up and whether I was competent enough to be a clinician. And as it turns out, when someone does not believe in you and perhaps you already have low self-esteem to begin with, which I did at that time, that cycle keeps being repeated until you learn and until you can find that deeper sense of self-worth and self-confidence from deep within. Now, 2 months before graduation, it got to the point where I actually had to sit during an appeal process and listen to this committee make a decision in front of me whether I was going to graduate or not. And as it turns out, they rejected my appeal to actually graduate. I wanted to graduate, and I said I can do whatever it takes. My GPA is still above what it needs to be, and I don't think it's fair that I would be dismissed based on this one rotation. And I could tell this one person, this one faculty member on the committee really wanted to help me, but no one else would agree with him. Also noticing that everyone else on the committee included women. So it just brought up a lot. It brought up a lot with the sisterhood wound, not feeling seen and empowered by women, and not feeling that my voice was heard in that moment. And that experience catapulted me into something much higher, because for a month, I fell into this dynamic of what just happened, feeling like a failure, drinking alcohol at 9 a.m. every day for a month, and thinking that might be normal. That might be my way to process these emotions. And what I know now is that was an escape mechanism to not have to deal with all the pain that was coming up in that period of my life where I really felt inadequate and unworthy. Now, fast forward, I end up going on a trip to Costa Rica. My friend books my ticket and she's going through her own stuff and she says, we're going to Costa Rica. So I go on this trip and I don't know anyone. It's all of her friends from high school. And in 1 week, I have fun. I do the things that any other 20-year-old would do. And I come back to the States and I'm starting to write my intentions on paper. And I'm also walking through New York City a lot. It is my dream city. It was something that really made me feel alive, like I can do anything when I'm in this city. And so it really served a big purpose in my life, my time there. And I keep writing about all these dreams that I have. And I'm noticing that a week later, a couple of these dreams start to take root. And what happens when you were just used to people telling you, you can't do this, this is not possible for you. And all of a sudden, things are shifting for you in a beautiful way. And you're finding that they're coming into your life really easily. Self-sabotage. Again, these are all core human wounds. It's part of our human experience. And so the more I'm opening myself to sharing this, I just know that someone else might be listening to this and thinking, you're speaking straight to my soul. So self-sabotage came into the picture. And luckily for me, I had some really amazing friends who held me through this and showed me where I was saying no to really incredible things entering my sphere. And fast forward, I did end up becoming a physician assistant or a physician associate. I worked at only the top cancer institutions in New York City. I graduated with honors, top 15% of the class. I worked at Memorial Sloan Kettering. I worked at Columbia University Medical Center and Weill Cornell Medical College. 2 of those are Ivy League institutions. And I loved it. These were academic institutions, which means they nurtured both my love of medicine and science, as well as integrative medicine, alternative healing, understanding music and art therapy, understanding palliative care, and really trying to get people to honor their faith from early on their experience. Because I'll share this more in upcoming episodes, that when people honored their faith and their spirituality during these cancer treatment courses, it's as though they felt held by something greater. And those were usually the patients that also impacted me the most. There was so much to learn from them. And these centers also nurtured my love of learning and teaching. These were academic institutions, which means they expected all clinicians to continue advancing, to continue being open to new research, innovation, and things like translational research, understanding how can we take things that we learn in the lab to patient bedside and really be able to implement and apply these things that we are discovering. And so I learned a lot about myself at this time. I learned that I love science and I also love complementary and alternative medicine. I loved doing yoga with my patients. I also got trained in yoga for cancer. I loved doing meditation with my patients. And I also saw that a lot of my patients would wait for me to finish my clinical notes and stay up for me even after hours, just so I could go back into the room and do a brief meditation with them. So all of these different aspects of my life and what I believe is my own multi-dimensional soul, here to do many different things that are aligned with my higher purpose, is that when we discover who we are and we uncover and unlock the different God-given gifts that we have, we transform our own lives, yes, And those gifts that we activate within ourselves also help activate it for others. And so in my learning that I love the esoteric ancient wisdom, the divine feminine teachings, spirituality, yoga, Reiki, shamanism, alternative healing, medicine, science, oncology, patient advocacy, empowerment, personal growth and development, ceremonies, so many different things, which will continue to evolve over time because this is what I'm here to do and who I'm here to be. I learned that other people are also impacting me just as much as I'm impacting them. And so this is powerful work because what I learned in my journey, especially through ancestral healing and learning that a lot of women in my lineage didn't feel safe to use their voice and speak their truth, is that through my own healing and having understood that what happened to me in PA school the first time was because I didn't feel safe to use my voice. And then going back and doing this deeper work with ancestral clearing and ultimately healing my lineage by taking a stand for my voice. Of course, I want to share these truths now. Of course, I want to use my voice to create positive global impact, to speak up for the causes that I care about, to really instill change from a place of self-empowerment. Not so much telling people this is what you have to do, although I will be sharing a lot of tips and practices and rituals you can incorporate. More than that, just by embodiment, helping other people to unlock what feels true and resonant for them, what intuitively feels right for them, for you essentially, in your own growth and evolution. And so again, I feel that this is the work of a lifetime, and I know what a privilege this is, and I'm honored to be doing this work and to be sharing more of this and more of my own journey, as well as the amazing guest that I will have on my podcast. What I'll leave with this is that what I once thought was this huge failure ended up showing me that timelines can shift really rapidly when we have faith in a higher power greater than us. And that in our emotional healing, we create so much freedom that first begins in our mind, body, and spirit, and then translates into our experiences in our reality on a physical level. And our ability to use discernment, intuition, wisdom, to understand the different experiences in our lives, to be with these experiences with our full presence, and then to transcend them and to teach people about how they too can move through their own raw, vulnerable experiences. This is what brings us back to wholeness. We embrace both the dark and the light, the humanity and the divinity, the milestones, the celebrations, the setbacks, all of it. And then we continue to move forward and really celebrate when we have those moments when we're on the high. And we also understand that this too shall pass if there's ever a low, which there can be because it's life. And during the plateau, understanding that life is still happening. It just might not be happening on our timing or the way we expect it to, and yet there's a bigger, much more beautiful plan unfolding for us. And if we can take a step back to see the bigger picture and from a higher perspective, we can perceive the greater truths, the deeper wisdom, and understand that this beautiful journey of life is happening for us. My intention is that throughout this evolution of the voice that sees, you will find that your own journey is evolving as well, upward and onward to bigger and better things in your life, and that you're able to find more peace, more love, more harmony, more abundance within yourself as you embrace your humanity and divinity, and then be the light to share these pearls of wisdom and to share the power of miracles with your own community. Because each person who goes out and realizes that their unique individual evolution creates a ripple effect on a global scale, that community will impact a larger community, which will go on to impact the entire planet. Thank you for tuning in to the Voice That Sees podcast. I know that this is just the beginning of something so beautiful, and I thank you for being a part of this journey together. Please be sure to drop in tomorrow for my first episode. And as usual, we'll be diving right into the deep stuff because this is where transformation begins. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Voice That Sees. Please be sure to check out more episodes every other Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. For additional content, you can follow me on Instagram at The Yoga Movement and YouTube at The Yoga Movement NYC. You can also check out my coaching programs and unique offers on my website at theyogamovementnyc.com to help support your individual and personal transformation. Until next time, be you and be well.